how hard is it just to absorb a loss like this after going ahead by 20?
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
I mean, I think they're built to beat us in some way. I mean, just look at their roster. They have basically 2 All-Stars, 2 probably first defensive players in the year. Mike Conley, who is the most underrated player in the NBA, probably. I mean, I love the guy. He's so good, and he always makes the right play. Even he didn't shoot that well this was the name. Series, this game, in one moment he was the leading rebounder in the game for them. So, it's and from the bench they have a 6th player of the year. They have Kyle and Walker who was really good for them. So one team that they can do literally everything. They can be big, small. So.
By the end of yesterday, Michael, I felt like Ant-Man had pulled us into the quantum realm. Like, we literally saw some stuff yesterday that we've never seen. It was the first time in NBA history that 2 road teams won Game 7s on the same day. Road teams aren't supposed, you play all season to get Game 7 at home. Road teams aren't supposed to win Game 7s. It happens, but not that often, obviously. And we saw 2 do it on the same day. We saw 2 do it in record-setting fashion. The Wolves' record-setting comeback. Let's say that again. The Wolves' record-setting comeback, beating the defending champions 3 times on their home court in one series. And the Pacers' record-setting shooting performance in Madison Square Garden. What better place to have a Game 7? The Pacers are like Madison Square Garden, damn right. They really like the rims there. But before we get into unpack these series and before we look ahead to the conference finals, we got to go back to Michael Malone, who so articulately said, being up 20. Nah, Playboy. No.
Season's over.
I get that I get that a 20-point lead don't mean what it used to. 20-point leads are erased like nothing in the modern NBA. But you was up 20. You were up 20 at the crib with Game 7 as the defending champions with the best player in the world, which arguably one of the best sidekicks in the world in Jamal Murray. Okay? I don't want to hear shit about how long your season was last year, how tired you are, how much you didn't get a chance to rest at the end of this season and it caught up to you, how you had to play your starters extra minutes. The Minnesota Timberwolves are not supposed to, let me say that again. The Minnesota Timberwolves, Alex Rodriguez's, or whoever owns them, Alex Rodriguez's Minnesota Timberwolves are not supposed to come to altitude in your building as the defending champs and erase a 20-point second half lead. Maybe in the first half. In the second half, no, you're supposed to be moving on. So it's not being up 20. Being up 20 is the story. Being up 20 is the story. I know this was in Knicks Pacers. I know this wasn't Knicks Pacers, but you were up 20.
Ooh, you're going there. And listen, I don't know if you hear that drill in the background. That's what Minnesota did. That's what Minnesota did to Denver last night. They just really drilled them. And I just go back to Post Malone. Post Malone is great. Post-game sound of Mike Malone. Pre-game sound, parade sound from Mike Malone is fantastic. I mean, he is great. I'm sure the columnists and beat writers and podcasters and radio hosts out in Denver love hearing what Mike Malone has to say game to game. He always brings it, always. But what you're talking about stupid questions, it's not a stupid question. See, that's cute. Everything's cute.
It's not a
when
stupid
you're the
question.
when you're the class of the league. When you're the class of the league and you come back 3-1 a couple of times in the bubble and people are on board and Jokić is the MVP and you're telling everybody how foolish they are by not recognizing the brilliance, the historical brilliance of Nikola Jokić. That's all cute. And he went to the parade. He was lit at the parade. Remember this? He was like, hey, y'all want to win it again? Yeah, I said it, you want. Like, he really had a few. Good for him. But you know what? What do you do in the Valley? Right now, this is your Valley moment, Denver Nuggets. And you're not the only one. The last 5, now this is 5 in a row, last 5 NBA champions that next year haven't made it out of the second round. So it's hard work.
Oh yeah, we're going to get to that.
That crown is heavy.
Yeah,
I know. That crown is heavy. But you know, like,
yeah.
I mean, like, come on, man. Like, as you just laid out, you're not supposed to ask the question. This hasn't happened before. It's never happened. You're up by, not only were you up by 20 in the third quarter and you lost that lead, you're up by 15 at halftime in Game 7 at home. In that situation, everybody else has won. Everybody else in that situation, up 15, halftime, Game 7, they win. You lose. We got to ask about it. I'm sorry. We have to ask about it. And I'll tell you why it's not a stupid question. Because we got the response. Like a question, as you know, interviewing Guru, you know, what you're trying to do is get a sense, get a little glimpse of how that person feels, of their emotions. Not about you, it's about them. And we got it. We got it.
No, right.
He lashed out.
A hit dog holler. Hit dog hollered is what happened.
That's it.
Because deep down in places he won't talk about at parties, like, you know, like when he's it is quiet moments, he gonna say, we was up 20. Like, I mean, that's going to haunt him and haunt them for a long time. Everybody that does this on the highest level, they say that the losses are worse than the wins are great, or let's say it better than that. But the losses are what stick with them more than the wins. This is one of those losses that's going to sting and stick for a very, very long time. Could you imagine? I typically don't go here. I typically don't go here.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
I mean, just because it's often unnecessary. It's unnecessary to play the hypothetical game. You know, like, had that been LeBron, or had that been Angel Reese, or like, you know, like I don't need to do all that. But could you imagine if the Lakers or the Celtics or some marquee franchise, and I'm not disparaging Denver. I got
heavily
a lot of respect for the Nuggets.
Heavily covered, heavily scrutinized.
Heavily scrutinized. Correct. Yeah. Major market. Denver's a huge metropolis, but like one of those like pillar franchises, okay, flagship franchises, heavily scrutinized franchises, had collapsed like this, had lost 3 times on their home floor to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are supposedly, like, let's not just focus on the losing locker room here. This team's supposed to be soft, right?
Who said that?
This is a team of Rudy. Traditionally, Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns in particular have been associated with soft. Okay, that's their reputation as an organization. This is not an organization that has typically ventured into this deep into the postseason, as we know. Yesterday was the 20th anniversary of the only other Game 7 win. So shout out to the Timberwolves for belying their franchise's reputation and historic perception in the way that, in the mental and physical toughness that they showed in not only winning Game 7, but forcing Game 7 to begin with. Okay, like, and because they along with the Thunder, it was supposed to be still a little too early for them. Still a little too early, you know, like they're young, they don't know any better. I'll be damned, they knew exactly, they the ones that knew better in Game 7. I don't know what happened to Mike Malone's defending champion Denver Nuggets. And so going back to the hypothetical, like, because it's Denver and because there's, I don't know, there's still like not quite that same level of, honestly, this probably is what Denver fans are talking about. It goes hand in hand. Because they don't get the same level of respect that they probably deserve for what they've done the last couple of years, the same level of scrutiny doesn't come with it because this is inexcusable. I don't care if you don't have the bench you had last year. I don't care. Again, I don't care about. I couldn't believe Michael Malone last night was talking last night about, we played a lot of games last year. All right, man. Like, that's your
privilege. That's your privilege. Right. And that's a privilege. Like, that's the privilege of the champ.
You weren't tired when you were up 20. You were not tired when you were up 20.
Right. Last year didn't matter.
That was a Post Malone's concert last night. His concert last night was not befitting of a defending champion. It was not.
Right. Hey, okay, last year, I mean, like those are two separate press conferences. So last night's press conference, this is not a retrospective on our year of being champions and what it's been like. This is not the time for that. That's day 2. That's a follow-up story. I mean, since he's telling journalists how to be journalists, let me just give you a little help here. Last night was in the moment game story. What happened? You're up by 20. Jokić dealing in the first half. Jamal Murray getting it done in the first half. Then you collapsed about 2 minutes into the third quarter was your peak, and then you collapsed. You were outscored. What was that? 60-36 at that point. Down from that moment forward, and the 3-point shooting went cold. Turnovers picked up. I mean, like Minnesota really. Rudy Gobert went to work offensively. Went to work.
Shooting jumper.
Cat in foul trouble. And they were calling some terrible fouls on him, by the way. Cat and Gobert. Down the stretch, some bad fouls. If Minnesota had lost that game, that would have been the story. The story is like the officiating, but we're not going to talk about them right now. And they fell apart. So that had nothing to do with the 2023 championship run. They didn't have enough because Minnesota just continued to pressure them the entire series. I think they expected Minnesota to fold after Game 5. Mm-hmm. After Game 5, you got it. Now, they had you down. You take care of that business in Games 3 and 4 in Minneapolis, and they basically, I told you so, we're champions. Game 5, they win it convincingly again, and okay, all right, we got them. And they just didn't quit. They thought they had them again last night up by 20. This team does not quit. Minnesota's real. Minnesota is real. Cat's real. Gobert's real. It's not just, we talk so much about Anthony Edwards. How about that guy, Mike Conley Jr.? Yeah.
Mike Conley, Nasty Nas. and
Nasty
Nas. I'm sorry.
Hey, how about Jokić called him the most underrated player in the NBA. I don't know if he's that, but he's just steady. He's been around for a long time, knows what he's doing. Nas Reed, my guy who had the great game, his name is escaping me right now. He had a great game.
McDaniels?
There he is, Jaden McDaniels. Yeah. So they're a real problem. They are a real problem, and it's not just the Anthony Edwards story. And he doesn't want it to be their story either, because every opportunity he gets, Mike, he passes off. He does the opposite of what he does with the ball in his hands and a weak defender in front of him on the court.
I was about to say, because sometimes I'm like my guy. Let it go. Swing that. It's like there were times in yesterday's game when I was like, listen, I know you said you didn't like the Jordan comparisons, but you've been watching too much of Come Fly With Me, because I'm like, bro, you over dribbling like a mug. Like, please give the ball up. So thankfully it did not come back to bite him. But no, they take on his personality. He's obviously the heart and soul and the heartbeat of that team. But you're right, it's not just him. He's not carrying them. At times they were carrying him yesterday, as has been pointed out. And I don't want to make it like Mike Malone pissed me off with that, that response to a very legitimate question. But I don't want to take anything away from, because it's always like, was it a choke or was it a comeback? Like, all the credit goes to Minnesota. All the credit goes to Minnesota. But if you're Denver, you can't. And again, I don't think it was everybody, but if you're the head coach of the Denver Nuggets, you can't say on one hand the better team won, not taking anything away from them, but here are all the reasons why we didn't get it done. Like that, his commentary post game, going back to Post Malone, I like that. His commentary post game was what you say after you lose in the first round. It's what you say after you squeak into the playoffs. After you barely get in the playoffs and nothing went right for you all season long. And it's just like you kind of stumbled in and you're like, yeah, the hangover was obvious. Not when you have the MVP again. Not when you have the best player in the world. Not when you're the number 2 seed and you have home court advantage in Game 7 against a team that has not been there, done that, and gotten the T-shirts. Correct. A team that has not been there, done that, and gotten the T-shirts. So it was lame. In a word, it was lame. But having said all that, all credit to Minnesota. They absolutely belong here. If the Nuggets choked, it was because the Timberwolves had both hands around their throats.
Yeah, and I would say, and both hands around their throat on the court and in the front office too. I mean, like these things happen, and it happens a lot in a number of sports, where the president of the Timberwolves used to be the president of the Denver Nuggets. So Tim Connolly, he left he left the Nuggets in 2022. Takes for Minnesota, trades for Gobert, tries to make some moves to have this team be in this position. And so obviously he sees the Nuggets win it last year and he thinks he's got the squad that can take down the Nuggets. He knows them as well as anybody. Now this is easier said than done. It did take 7 games. It did take a historic comeback, down 20 points in the third quarter at Ball Arena to make it happen, but it did happen. So this just is how razor thin it is. And it's not the old days. And so Mike Malone talking last night saying, hey, it's a failure, but it's not fatal. Like, we'll be back. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if he'll be back. I mean, like every year, and this is why I'm not dissing Denver either. Like, they deserve to win the championship last year. Jokić deserves to be MVP. I still think he's the best player in basketball. None of that changes. But last year, think about this. This rarely happens. Last year, they beat the Wolves in 5. They beat them in 5 games. It was a great series, but they beat them in 5. And then they won a championship. This year, the team you beat in 5 last year in the first round has come back in the second round, and they knocked you out in 7. Yeah, I mean, so who knows? Who's that going to be next year? Like, these teams are, somebody is close. Somebody's always close, and it wasn't like that 10 years ago. So, hey, maybe you got your one.
So let's
and enjoy it.
So let's have the dynasty conversation. I was going to give more props, but I've already made my point about both Cat and Gobert. I'll just say this quickly, that I'm happy for those guys. And it's going to be a theme for me during the show. Those guys are taking so much shit. Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, both of them have been maligned for their style of play, their personalities. Yeah. Some of it justifiably so. Others are just piling on. But it's nice to see those guys. It's nice to see those sheep turn into wolves. Go on fetch, dog. You're gonna be a sheep or a wolf. Get your ink. Okay. Speaking of training day, that dynasty day is dead, dog. We don't roll like that no more. We saw yesterday something that we've never seen over the last handful of years, and you've just referenced this. We are seeing something that we have never seen in my lifetime. I believe it's been 44 years since we've gone this many years without a repeat NBA champion. And not just a repeat NBA champion, these cats ain't getting out the first round. Or the second round, I beg your pardon. They're not getting out the second round nowadays, okay? Like, that's how hard it is. So to what would you attribute the difficulty, the recent difficulty? Now, and listen, every year is its own thing. I mean, because you could pick a couple of them. All right, shall we? Let's do it. All right, and maybe this is all like, yes, it's a trend, But as I look at this list, what immediately pops in my head is, well, wait a second. There's a reason for all of them. So if I'm not mistaken, 2019, the Raptors. There's a guy that left the team after that year. Am I right? Didn't a certain dude leave after that? When he one and done? Didn't Kawhi pull a Carmelo Anthony? Ultimate hired gun? Okay, he was out. 2020, I know the Lakers and their fans hate to hear this, but that was the bubble. All right, so you can say different team the following year, okay? 2021, now Suns coach Mike Budenholzer's Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis got hurt. And that was the infamous. Didn't he get hurt that year? Or is that am I getting?
But he got hurt. He got hurt that year in the finals year, then came back. Remember, he came back in the finals. He missed part of the conference final.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Okay. Right. So the next year. Then came back.
Yeah. Next year they just.
Yeah. 2020. Okay. No,
it's Middleton.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at this.
Next year Middleton was hurt.
No, I'm right. But last year, so the Bucks won it in 21. Last year, Giannis got hurt. That was the infamous "it's not a failure" post-game comment. So when they lost last year, right?
Yeah, but the year after though, in the conference semifinals, they lost to the Celtics. They didn't have Middleton, and so that was the that was the problem. Then the Warriors beat the Celtics.
And obviously the Warriors. Yes, and they had their issues this year, which are well documented.
They lose to the Lakers.
So
they lose to the Lakers. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, my memory's fading as I get into my. I guess you know how this is as you start to get into your.
No, I don't know how it is because I remember everything.
You're
I don't know. Okay, I don't know what you're going through because I can tell you everything that happened. So I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
So wait. Well, help me out there. Let's not, derail this too bad. But wait, what year am I thinking about where Giannis got hurt early in the playoffs? That wasn't last year?
I thought he got hurt in 2021 in the finals. I mean, in the conference finals, he got hurt. He comes back. He missed the game maybe against Atlanta. Then he comes back in the NBA finals. And he got healthier in the NBA Finals, and then culminating with that great Game 6, that 50-piece.
No, I'm not talking about when they won. I'm talking about when they lost the ensuing. Yes,
but he played. He played. Next year they lost to the Celtics. He played in that Game 7. They lost to them at home. They lost to the Celtics at the Garden. No Middleton.
All right, maybe I'm tripping.
Middleton was the injury.
Maybe I'm tripping
that year.
Maybe I'm tripping. Okay, never mind.
But what's the theme though?
Point being is that
what do they all have in common?
No,
you said there's all something in common.
No, I'm asking is there a connective thread or connective tissue, or are those just extenuating circumstances, or the just every year was just so different for those teams, or those teams just came back different the year after? Like how many of those teams came back built the same way that they were built the previous year, or did they have injury bad luck? Which I don't know if I should call it bad luck because everybody has to deal with injuries. I'll get to that theme in a second when we talk about Pacers-Knicks. But injuries are part of the postseason. They always have been. They're as much of a part of the postseason as the players involved. As who's playing and who's not playing is so much a part of the story of NBA history in the playoffs. Maybe it's the teams just came back dramatically different the next year and or they got hit with injuries.
I'm going to take injuries out of it. I'm going to take injuries out of the mix. And I'm going to say it is in the last, 5 to 8 years, it's just the power of players shifting. So players have shifted. Yeah, there's player empowerment, but there's also general manager empowerment as well. I just think Michael, I think the league is much more aggressive. The league collectively is much more aggressive than it used to be. Now there's some bad teams that just ain't, don't give a damn. They're not trying to win right now. They're trying to do that process thing. We're gonna be bad. I'm looking at you, San Antonio. I'm looking at you, Detroit. I'm looking at some of these teams that are just trying to build something. They're trying to collect assets, and then their moment's gonna come, and they're gonna spring it on everybody. Okay, yeah. But think about what happened. Kawhi goes to Toronto. Toronto's a champion. Then Toronto is no longer a champion because Kawhi goes to the Clippers. Now the Clippers are thinking about a championship. And since the Clippers are thinking about a championship, now OKC says, okay, if you want to take one of our guys, you want to take Paul George and Russell Westbrook, and we're going to break this whole thing up, we're going to make you pay for it. So they become hoarders of all this draft capital as LA, the Clippers, think they're going to be championship contenders. So just like a lot of movement, players moving around, which is causing general managers to do different things. And it's creating, I know a lot of people complain about it, but what it's creating is parity. That's really what it comes down to. Because of the aggression, parity has been created. And we never had that before. I never even thought about it before because these teams, like the old guard, the people who really complain, the old guard never thought of leaving. So you'd have these groups together for a long time. The only thing that could break them up is retirement or the expansion draft or something like that. But Lakers, Magic's Lakers, Bird's Celtics, Isaiah's Pistons, Jordan's Bulls, two versions of Jordan's Bulls, 2 3-peats. Yeah, I mean, we're just not going to have that anymore. Like Shaq and Kobe's Lakers, just a different day, and I like it. I like it. By the way, not only do I like it, I love it. I love that I have no idea. In this Final Four, I know a lot of people think the Celtics are the favorites. Maybe. I have no idea who's going to win the championship this year. Can't call it. Can't call it. Dallas could win it. The Pacers could win it. I'm telling you, the Pacers could win the championship.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a second. Wait a second. You're moving too fast. Okay. Old folks can't keep up with you. By the way, this would have driven me crazy. I think what I was confusing, it's been 2 years. I had the Heat loss in the back of my mind. So remember in the first round last year when they lost to the Heat when Giannis got hurt and he missed several games? That's what I was thinking about. They lost 2 playoff series since they last won the championship. Okay. So we were both right. It wasn't the next year was the one you were referencing. I was referencing last year when they lost in the first round. So that was my confusion, my mistake. I just want to clean that up. I'm sure everybody listening or watching, if they haven't already checked out.
When they lost last year in the first round to Miami, when they lost to a play-in team, they lost to the.
I'm not to make excuses, but Giannis was hurt. So you said you love it. That just goes back to my point about injuries playing a role in this, like for better or worse. So you said you like it this way. I actually thought Denver would repeat this year. I still thought that they were the class of the league, all the way up until they weren't. I thought they would.
Why did you think that?
Beat the Celtics in the conference at the NBA Finals. I thought they had the best player. I thought they had the best tandem. They're not the same depth as they had last year, but I didn't think that would manifest itself.
They have no depth. They have zero depth. But they have a great. They are the top heaviest team remaining in the playoffs.
They have the best starting lineup all season, but that lack of depth was not exposed until this series. Wasn't exposed until this series. Okay, Boston, fine. You want the Celtics? Fine, Michael.
No, but they have a better. But it's clear. It's clear, isn't it?
That's fine. Well, now it is. Now it is. It is now. You could not have seen this coming. Coming into this series, some people may have picked Minnesota.
No,
some people may have selected Minnesota. You did not see them losing Game 7. Okay, I'm sure some people did. I'm sure some people outside the Twin Cities picked Minnesota. I'm not going to say nobody was picking the Timberwolves the same way that nobody was picking the Pacers. I'm not going to say that. But you cannot have seen this coming in this way. I thought the Nuggets were better than they turned out to be. It took a team like Minnesota, the better team, to expose their obvious weaknesses. So are we done seeing dynasties, or is it, like I said, each of those 5 incidents are more individual circumstances, or because of what you said and just the way the league moves nowadays, will we never see somebody go back to back again, or anytime soon at least?
Is a dynasty? Well, here's a question for you. Do you think
dynasty? Okay, like
is that dynasty?
No, you're right. Thank you. No, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for that. You're right. I think the Pistons of the 80s would say, late 80s would say it is. No, you have to, because I think that waters down the definition of dynasty. So you're right. Thank you for making that distinction. There's dynasty and then there's back-to-back. The contemporary Warriors are a dynasty. The Spurs before them
That's our last one.
were a dynasty.
That's our last one. Yep.
You're right. That's thank you for that distinction. Will we see somebody? Look, you ain't got to go back to back. Will we see a defending champion? It's much like the NFL. Or no, was it? It was the runner-up. It was the runner-up, not the.
Yeah,
not
the runner-up was a
winner.
disaster.
Remember, for a long time, the runner-up was a disaster. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the runner-up, the people that lost the Super Bowl rarely got back. Will we see a defending NBA champion even get back to the finals in this modern NBA the way that it moves, like you're describing?
Get back to the finals, yes. Get back to the finals, I can see that. But back-to-back is going to be difficult. Dynasties, I'm going to say no. Like I'm looking at the losers bracket, okay, this year. So OKC, and I know we'll talk about them. OKC is out of the playoffs. They're losing 6 to the Mavericks. I will, as a betting man, I will put significant capital down on their future. Their best player is 25, top 3 MVP candidate. Yeah, I think OKC will be back in the mix, and they might win a championship and make it to the finals. That wouldn't shock me at all. So the losers, it's not like the losers will never be heard from again. It's just so much competition. And Mike Malone's right. Is it over? Is it over for the Nuggets? It's not over for them. They're a championship contender. If the Wolves don't win the championship, I like the Wolves. If the Celtics don't win a championship, I still like the Celtics. So I just think it's too many good teams around to say, look out for that team. They got it over everybody else. I don't think anybody has it over anybody else. I really don't.
No. Okay. Let's take a quick break and then get to this other Game 7, man. That series was wild. I had I did say 7. I didn't say it was going to 7. I had that part right. The outcome, didn't see that coming. Did not see that coming.
Neither did anyone in the 5 boroughs. I mean, damn. You want to talk about self-important. You want to talk about it's all about a New Yorker's view of the world, that old poster.
Hold on. Okay, hold it. We're going to get to it in a second. Hold on.
I know.
I think we're making positive strides. We just need to make more.
Jim, last one, man. You didn't think this was a successful year.
Right.
Why do you feel that way, and how would you evaluate the year?
Did we win a championship? Did we get close?
Somewhat.
So, no. That's my mindset. That's just how it is.
I knew, today's Game 7, unload the clip, have no regrets, because I would hate to, be pissed all summer about not shooting the ball today. So, for me, it was just about coming out playing the right way.
Before we took that little break, you were verbally Paul Pierce and Jalen Brunson's jersey. Like I had to hold you back from going at New York, man. So have at it.
No, I like New York. Look, it's one of my favorite cities in the world. It is. And I like the Knicks. I appreciate what they've done. But this is not a let's go in on New York. This is probably let's go in on the East Coast, myself included. Everybody where I live in Boston was just already prepared for Boston, New York. Oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. We might have.
Wait, you're including yourself in that?
Yeah, I listen. I thought when they went up 3-2.
Not with me.
At the beginning of the series.
Oh, okay, because it's been a long time since we talked. I was about to say, I was the one fast forwarding. I specifically remember fast forwarding to Boston after that Philly New York classic. I was fast forwarding. You were like, "Hold on, player."
Oh, I know. And I got caught up.
I don't know what you said in the interim, but I got
caught up.
But you had to hold me back from overlooking Indiana.
Peer pressure. It was peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Peer pressure got to me. Just all these folks around here in Boston.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I remember talking to a family from New York on Friday. This is on Friday morning. Man, wouldn't this be great if the Bruins can come back in their series against the Panthers? Then it could be Bruins Rangers, and then it could be Knicks Celtics. You have Bruins Rangers in the conference finals. You have Knicks Celtics in the conference finals. New York, Boston. It's a bit much for the rest of the country, but we'll enjoy it. We're going to be loud. It's going to be a lot of trash talking. No. Bruins lose, see you later, going home. And they would have been swept by the Rangers anyway. And now the Knicks are going home because they just felt like, hey, being in Madison Square Garden, Game 7 against these young, inexperienced Pacers was going to be enough for them. That was just going to be enough for them.
It was a coronation. It was a formality.
Should have won.
Yep.
Hey, that freak shot. It took a freak shot in Game 3 to beat us. 31-footer. He ain't want to take that three. Game 4 is an aberration. You know they ain't gonna blow us out like that again. You know it's just you know what it's like on the East Coast. It's almost like underneath every East Coast conversation is, you know what, you ain't shit. You ain't really. Pretty much. You ain't really that good.
You ain't that fine anyway. You aren't that fine. Exactly. You ain't that. That's okay. Keep walking. You ain't that fine anyway.
All right, fine.
You're lucky somebody trying to holler at you. Like, why? Right. Why it's gotta be all that?
Yeah. You got a victory, but there's an asterisk next to everything that you've done. But give Indiana credit.
There is no asterisk here.
I've never seen anything like it.
Absolutely.
And you haven't either. Nobody has. Are you kidding me?
No.
Like that is, you couldn't really do that in practice. You couldn't do that against air if you tried to be that hot, that consistently an entire game. That's nuts. So Indiana deserves it. And as I said to you earlier, can Indiana keep going? Yes. You shoot like that? Why wouldn't you?
Boston.
Why can't you?
They won't shoot 67% every game, but Boston should be scared shitless of Indiana right now. Or I should say the Celtics fan base. Because Indiana has everything it takes. We talked about the Nuggets being exposed a little while ago. Indiana has everything it takes to conjure up all the insecurities that Celtics fans have about their team in big moments and in the playoffs. It's like Indiana's depth, Indiana's scoring, Indiana's, pun intended, pace. Everything about the Pacers screams like they could give the Celtics problems, if not beat the Celtics. Like, I have a hard time having the guts, quite frankly, to be transparent, the guts to pick the Pacers just because the Celtics have been the best team all year long. I know it's the playoffs, it's matchups, injuries happen, crazy shit happens. Teams get hot. You know, it's a completely different animal than the regular season. I do think the Celtics are the better team. Not by that much. God knows not by that much. They should not be heavy favorites against this Pacers team whose offense is every bit as good as the Celtics this year. And so, like, I first have to eat it. I told you before, and maybe it's because I'm not wrong that often. I like being wrong. I love being proved wrong. This gonna be a theme. I know that was so obnoxious. That was even for me. That was obnoxious. Even for me.
East Coast. That's East Coast right there. There it is. Ladies, for those who have never been to the East Coast,
that wasn't East Coast.
There it is right there.
No, that wasn't East Coast disparaging. That was just me. That was just my shit. That was just me. I know it was bad. I knew it was bad when it came out of my mouth. No, but point is, I love to be proved wrong by people, and I'm gonna get to that in a second as well. And I love to be proved wrong by teams. I love it when teams have the receipts and everybody picked against them, and we can legitimately say, yeah, everybody picked against the Pacers. Most people picked against the Pacers. Even though there's an East Coast bias, I think a lot of people got caught up in the story of the Knicks. And their performance. Look, the Knicks, they ran into some bad luck. Two things can be true, and there are reasons, but not excuses. And the Knicks can point to their injuries as a reason, and that may help them sleep well at night. That, we didn't lose because we were outplayed, we would lose because we were undermanned, okay? And that's fine. That does not disqualify or attach any qualifiers to the Indiana Pacers, who rightfully and deservedly qualified for the Eastern Conference Finals. That team is good, that team is deep, that team is exciting, that team is fun, that team is together, that team is cohesive, that team is scrappy, and that team, wait a second, all of a sudden starting to play a little defense. Now you could qualify that and say, well, they were defending a shorthanded. I said a little. I didn't say they were the Timberwolves. I said a little. And now they're also guarding a shorthanded Knicks team, so you could easily make that as a counter argument. But nonetheless, their defense has improved from couldn't stop a nosebleed and nothing but shootouts early in the season. This is going to be fascinating. This should be a high scoring. I don't think the Celtics can slow them down that much. Will they shoot 67%? No. But I don't think the Celtics are going to completely shut down the Pacers any more than the Pacers could possibly shut down the Celtics. I think this will be a high-scoring series, and it'll be close. I think we could see another 7-game series.
I don't know if it goes 7. I think the Celtics will win it in 6, but it's going to be a very competitive series. And it's interesting because it's got a lot of layers to it. One, so early in the season, the Pacers were a different team. They hadn't made the trade for Siakam yet. So early in the season, the Celtics beat the Pacers at Boston Garden by 50 points. They beat them beat them by 50. So there was that version of the Pacers. And then we had this cute little thing called the in-season tournament, which I still think is a joke. But in-season tournament happened. Pacers wanted to win it. The Celtics wanted to win it too for different reasons. The Pacers wanted to win it just to kind of show themselves, establish themselves in a high-profile game because they didn't have many of those in Indiana at the time, and the Celtics and other teams that you mentioned earlier, Celtics, Lakers, Knicks, they're used to their share of high-profile games. So Celtics, Pacers play in the in-season tournament for the right to go to Vegas, and Indiana won. So they beat the Celtics and they advanced to Las Vegas. So there's that part, and that kind of sticks with some members of the Celtics. And then there's that little brother thing. You got a little brother. I am a little brother. So you know what I'm talking about. And everybody out there, if you're a little brother or little sister, you know what I'm talking about. Aaron Nesmith used to be a member of the Celtics. And they just really ragdolled him in practice. Okay, talk a lot of trash. He talk a lot of trash back. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both look forward to just kind of shutting up Nesmith. And Nesmith looks forward to taking on the Celtics. He feels like they gave up on him. He was a first-round pick. He was part of a Malcolm Brogdon trade. But that Malcolm Brogdon trade eventually led the Celtics to Drew Holiday. So there's that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of history between the Celtics and Pacers. I think it's going to be a great matchup too. But I think the Celtics have more talent and more depth than the Patriots. I think they have better players. I think they have better players. Better player? Really? Yes. Yeah.
No, you said more. You said more depth.
More and depth. Yes. Yep. Yep. So the question is, can the Celtics survive? The reporting is that it might be a couple of games before we see Kristaps Porzingis. Can the Celtics survive first 2 games at home, first one tomorrow night? Can they survive 2 games without Porzingis against the Pacers? Can they win those games? You go 1-1 against the Pacers. They lost in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. They've lost both game 2s at the crib. Game 2 to Miami, game 2 to Cleveland. They win game 1, lose game 2, and now you don't have Porzingis. You have Porzingis coming back on the road. You know, that's a storyline as well. But I think the Celtics should get by the Pacers. It won't be easy, though.
So how much is the Celtics late game, crunch time, clutch time struggles? How much is that still a story? And the one storyline you didn't reference is former Celtic, once upon a time, Rick Carlisle, versus Joe Mazzulla.
Yep.
Edge Rick Carlisle.
Yes.
Okay. And then some. Edge, you know what I mean? Like, so I anticipate at some point in this lengthy series, 6 or 7, that being a storyline is the coaching matchup.
All right, so to answer your first question, how much of a storyline is Celtics late game, meltdowns, late game execution or lack thereof? Big. It's still a big story, and it should be a big story. We've seen a lot of, in the games that the Celtics have lost, the close games, the games get closer and later. They've had some problems just pulling those things out. Whether it's Joe Mazzulla not calling a timeout, he's good for that. You can use timeouts. You can use them. You can use them. Go ahead. Yeah. Hey, yes. Take more. Take more of them. He sometimes doesn't use timeouts, or when he does use timeouts, the plays don't exactly unfold the way we think they were designed, and Jason Tatum winds up dribbling. At one point, Chris Forsberg, who works with me at NBC Sports Boston, he counted the dribbles Tatum had in a late game loss to Cleveland in the regular season. In the last 20 seconds, Tatum dribbled 19 times. Just dribbled 19 times, then threw up a fadeaway jumper over Darius Garland and missed it. So, that kind of stuff, that execution where the ball's not moving and it gets sticky and just somebody kind of panics, that's a big deal. So if these games are tied down the stretch or close down the stretch, I hate to say it, until they prove otherwise, advantage Indiana. Got to prove it.
So you know how in negotiations, we use the term reserving rights. Can I apply that to predictions? Not that anybody's not that I have a contractual obligation to give a prediction, but I said I couldn't work up the nerve to pick the Pacers. Give me 24 hours. Give me 24 hours. Give me 24 hours. I may pick the Pacers in 6. Can't pick them in 7.
In 6?
I can't pick them in 7. I can't pick them in 7 because then it's another. They gonna go on the road in both gardens. They gonna go shit in 2 gardens. I can't pick them. If I'm gonna pick them, I gotta pick them in 6. If I'm gonna pick them, it would have to be 6. It would have to be 6 if I'm gonna pick them.
That would be.
I'm tempted. Yeah. I'm tempted.
And the pressure. Say, how much is pressure? How
much does it matter? A lot.
I think it matters a lot, but I want the kind of professional athlete who embraces it. You got an athlete who is, and let me use the word again, soft. You got a soft athlete. Any sport, any gender, you're soft if you don't like the pressure. If you're a professional athlete and the pressure, if you don't embrace the pressure, I think that's a weakness. I'm going to take points off. The pressure should be good. And so there's a lot of pressure on the Celtics. The way they are described, for those who don't know, the way they're described and talked about at home is, okay, fine. You won in the first round, big deal. You won in the second round, big deal. Whether it's Pacers or Knicks.
Oh, it's nationally.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's national.
Pacers, Knicks, doesn't matter. Pacers, Knicks, you're supposed to win that.
They're untrustworthy.
And then, whether it's Mavericks, whether it's the Mavericks or the Timberwolves, you're supposed to beat them. They are the only team of the 4 that's supposed to. Their fan base looks at it and says, no, we don't look at it. It's not a privilege. It's not a blessing. And every day, and I didn't know. No, their fan base says, you're supposed to be here and you're supposed to win the whole thing. And anything short of that is a failure. That's what they have going into the Final 4. Can they deal with it?
I don't think. I thought you were saying something slightly different, but I think the point still stands. I think that's their national perception as well. It's like they've been the best team. This is 6 times in 8 years, making it to this point. This is, probably the worst thing that could have happened for them was drawing the Pacers.
I kind of hate that stat though. I hate that stat.
It's 6 times in 8 years.
Yeah, because it's not the same team. So I could see 6 and 8 if you had Murray and Jokić, and you say they've been there 6 times in the last 8 years. But it's not we've had many versions of the Celtics. So one version of the Celtics one that made it to the conference finals, that was Isaiah Thomas's Celtics. The other Isaiah. Mm-hmm. So Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder and Kelly Olynyk.
That was two coaches ago. No, absolutely. But
so
the laundry is the same, and for the most part, they've had this tandem. This tandem.
I don't buy it. I reject it. I think I do, because if you break it, if you really break it down, I think when Kyrie, I'd say it's when Kyrie Irving left. Kyrie Irving leaves the Celtics, and now it's not his team anymore.
It's Jason Tatum's team.
Because it was supposed to be, when Kyrie first got there, Tatum was a rookie. Tatum was
it was supposed to be Kyrie
and Hayward and Horford. Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
And then when they went to the conference finals that year, Kyrie was out. Kyrie, his first year in Boston, he was hurt. So they go to the conference finals with rookie Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Terry Rozier. I got it. 6 out of 8 is factually correct.
Take the 6. Okay, fine.
But details.
Take the 6 out of 8 out. Take the 6 out. Okay, it's fine. Take the 6 out of 8 out. Take the 6 out. That's fine. Heard. Take the 6 out of 8. Take the 6 out of 8 out of the conversation. This tandem, this superstar tandem, this duo, and this organization is very familiar to these parts. So what I thought you were saying a minute ago, though, was not only does their fan base and nationally expect them to be here and beyond, given that they've been here and been in the finals, haven't won the whole thing yet, to say nothing of the record-setting historic team that they were this year. The expectation is that anything short of a championship is a failure. But beyond that, it's like, yeah, ho-hum, we don't care what you just did in the last 2 rounds. What have you done for me lately? And the worst thing that could have happened to them from a pressure narrative standpoint, if you will, is drawing the Pacers. It's right, because it's like the Pacers, like, okay, like, you're definitely supposed to beat the Pacers. There's more and more reasons for me to, like, go ahead and just man up, dog, man up, and just take a hit.
Yeah.
You heard this ain't a parole board. This ain't cocaine. Just take a hit. Maybe I was supposed to just take a hit and just pick the Pacers in this series. I'm close, very close.
But I'm not close to that. And I think maybe the modern player, when we talked earlier about dynasties not really existing anymore, like, modern players don't have the same baggage. They don't have the institutional memory. It's a good thing. They don't have the institutional memory that we do. So if you say Indiana Pacers to somebody who's over 35, they think, okay, whatever. You're going to Pacers. Same thing with the Timberwolves. Oh, the Timberwolves, man, it's not one of those real legacy franchises and all this stuff. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to players now. I think they look at Tyrese Halliburton. I think they look at Anthony Edwards. They look at what those teams have done. They know those guys. Everybody's close. Everybody knows each other in the league. So they're not looking at, we're supposed to beat the Pacers. I think they have respect for them. I think the Celtics have respect for the Pacers, and I think the Mavericks, unless they're crazy, the Mavericks have a ton of respect for the Timberwolves. Ain't no supposed to.
Speaking of the Mavericks, and you referenced Kyrie Irving a second ago, and I've made reference to this several times in this conversation, just about how I like being proved wrong.
Okay.
I mean that sincere. No, I mean that sincerely. I enjoy being wrong. No, because those are no. I can't. it would be living in a glass house and throwing bricks if I came at you about Luka right now. That would he who has not sinned cast the first stone.
But that wouldn't
I'm
stop
guilty.
you from doing it. That wouldn't stop you from doing
No,
it.
well, okay, that's true. But in this instance, I'm gonna refrain. I'm refrain from being a hypocrite today. First we gonna play some pretty heartwarming. I love Post Malone, by the way. That's really good. I like that. Some heartwarming post-game SOT from the Western Conference Finals participating superstar tandem of Luka Dončić and Kyrie Irving.
When he came, nothing but supportive of everything I did, everything we did. But just it helped me mature a lot, realize to see the game in a different way. And obviously in the court, it's amazing to play with a guy like him. Like I said, just go out there, enjoy. And the leader he's been for us, not just for me, but for us, he's been amazing. Always positive energy.
Yeah, I just think this guy next to me has pushed me to continue to work on my game and continue to develop as a young leader. And I think the big word that we both can agree on is just maturity. Coming into Dallas, I was dealing with a lot mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and they embraced me with open arms. You know, I don't have a perfect journey, so coming into this environment, I was unsure of how we were going to work out on the court, but off the court, I knew eventually that I would get him to open up. This guy's a big teddy bear at times off the court, big competitor. Okay, I'll say a teddy bear that likes to compete. You know, he's still ducking me in dominoes, but, you know, I think at times, you know, I just have to sit back and marvel at his talent.
That's great.
Close out Kyrie, 14-0 in closeout games. Best record. I mean, you know, let's talk about stats you don't like. I didn't know they were keeping that stat, but that's a pretty impressive one. Close out Kyrie. So as much as I was triggered by Michael Malone saying, "F being up 20, the season's over," I was inspired. I was touched by Kyrie. His comment, I don't have a perfect journey. I don't have a perfect journey. And this is why I'm not going to come at you about Luka. I'm not. Because, you know, I was trying to remember the conversations we've had. Let's just concentrate it to the last 4 years. Let's just concentrate it to 2020. The last 4 years, the conversations around Kyrie Irving, on and off the court. You know, from Brooklyn to Dallas.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I'm more than sure, if I went back and dug in the archives, which don't exist, but if I went back and I looked in the archives and I said, I looked at all the things that I've said about Kyrie Irving, I doubt that, I don't think that if any of the things that I said would have suggested that he'd be here today. And that he would be that guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
He had gotten to a point where he was such a pain in our asses, and we don't even have to work with him. Okay? Like, he was such a pain in our asses from afar, till it's like, I'm really, sincerely happy to be wrong about where his career was heading.
Yeah.
I did not see his career arc heading in this direction 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I don't remember. I'm gonna conservatively say I don't remember what I said about the trade and whether I liked the trade. I know the one thing I did like, because I'm always a fan of tanking. I did like the Mavericks tanking at the end of the season to keep their first round draft pick.
I hated that.
I know you did. That I remember. I remember that. I remember like, hey man, that's, you know, makes all the sense in the world.
Didn't they wind up with Lively? Did they wind up with Lively from that?
Lively, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how they got Lively, yeah. So, but when it comes to Kyrie Irving, polarizing does not do it justice. And it's not that I take back what I said when I say it and within the context in which I said it. It's just more that, like, it's a life story, man. Like, I have not had a perfect journey. That's all of us, right? It's like
That's
for
a
Kyrie Irving
great
to be the
comment.
player he is, the leader he is, the teammate that he is right now. This is not the person we thought we would see him evolve into in Brooklyn. Certainly not toward the end in Cleveland. I'm happy for dude. I'm proud of dude. I really am. Like, I'll keep saying this till I'm blue in the face. I'm happy to have been wrong. I don't even remember what I said, but I did not say that Kyrie Irving would be the hero and the sidekick that Luka Dončić needed and deserved. I would not have said that. I would not say that he'd be talked about as a leader for the Dallas Mavericks, taking them back to the Western Conference Finals for the second time in 3 years. Different team, but for the second time in 3 years. I'm so he is one of the best stories of this postseason. When it wasn't that long ago, he was one of the most irritating stories in all of sports. Hell of a time.
Yeah, he talked about, I love that line. I do too. I don't have a perfect journey. None of us does. And he talked about maturity. And you can sense the peace. Whatever, I don't know what he was going through. He said he was going through a lot. I don't know what it was. But you can sense the peace that he seems to be at now, at least publicly when he gives his comments. To the point where, I don't know if you caught his post-game interview after Game 7. What a wild game, by the way. At the end of Game 7, he gives an interview, and he talks with the interviewers, and at the end of it, he says, "I'm praying for you guys." I was like, whoa, I'm praying for all of you. It's just a different feel. Kyrie's different. The Mavericks are different. I'm going to say this about Luka. You know my comments about Luka not being able to get by the Clippers. Clearly, they got by the Clippers, and then some. They got by the Clippers and got by OKC. And they got by OKC because, in large part, Luka's toughness. Luka's physical and mental toughness throughout the series. And I kept watching him. I watched most of the series. And I focused on Luka defensively. Not that he was a warrior on defense. He was not. But I kept looking at him saying, this guy can barely move. He can't move. He's playing safety. In a lot of cases, he's playing safety, and he's still coming up with plays. This is not shade. It's not shade.
No, it's not shade. No, I'm just happy.
Too.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy. No, I'm happy. I'm happy to hear you say that. Because again, you know, our conversations these days have been few and far between. But I remember when I brought up Dončić and defense in the same sentence, you practically laughed me off the screen.
Yeah.
you laughed me off the screen. Well, I remember having that conversation.
Great plays.
I'm sorry, just rang a bell.
He made some great plays. He is not healthy. He's not healthy. He's not moving the same, but he still is able to do enough to help his team win. So give it up for Luka. Give it up for the Dallas Mavericks. And you already talked about one coach. You talked about the coach of the Indiana Pacers, who's a former coach of the Mavericks. Let's talk about the current coach of the Mavericks, Jason Kidd, who played for Rick Carlisle. Jason Kidd has been to the Western Conference Finals 2 of the last 3 years. And he got his team past on paper, more talented. Like OKC finished with the 1 seed in the West for a reason. Top 3 MVP candidate.
If that would have gone 7, if that series had gone 7, if it had gone back to OKC, I don't think we're having this conversation.
Got him at the right time.
They averted disaster.
This is a Dallas tradition too. This is a Dallas tradition. The last time Dallas won an NBA championship, they got somebody at the right time. They got Dwayne Wade and LeBron James at the right time, and it was just a combination of mental mastery and just great teamwork, and they beat the Heat. And then the next 2 years, the Heat won the championship. And I think it's the same thing. Dallas, they got OKC at the right time. OKC could be back next year. They can win it all next year, but you're not ready yet. You're not ready. And Dallas's Jason Kidd made sure that Dallas could make that happen, could make that be the story. I'm excited, man. I'm so excited for this Final Four.
Dallas's comeback in a lot of respects was as stunning as even though they were at home. That was as stunning as Minnesota's at Denver in many respects. Yep. That was another one. Like I was like, yeah, I don't think the Mavericks got it today. They ain't got it. And then the way PJ rode to the rescue again. I didn't have a problem with the last call, by the way. I didn't either. Characterized as controversial. That was a foul.
No.
Hey, but tough way to lose a game, but you know.
Did you hear the comments? Did you hear Shai Gilgeous-Alexander after the game? Hey, what do you think about that? He said, I wish I hadn't fouled.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I hadn't fouled. And so, yeah, I got it. We talk about these things, and I got to be better. It's the little things. I wish I hadn't fouled him. I just wanted to hug him. I wanted to hug him. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about in this situation. He's not, his journey is not perfect. SGA I'm talking about. His journey is not perfect, nor is it close to being complete. I'm big on the Thunder, just not right now.
So you say you're excited for the Final Four. You have the Celtics beating the Pacers. Who do you like in the Western Conference Finals?
Minnesota.
I had Dallas, Denver. So I had Dallas here. You got Minnesota, huh?
Yep.
Look, Dallas defensively, I'm glad you brought it up. They've come a long way, especially since the trade deadline. They've come a long way defensively. You got Minnesota, huh?
Yeah. Give me Minnesota. Minnesota has, so the Mavericks have the best player in the series, right? They got the best player in the series. Do you think so?
Yep. No, go ahead, finish.
No, I think the Mavericks have the best.
But go ahead and finich.
I think the Mavericks have the best player in the series. Mavericks have the best big game player in the series because close out Kyrie. You just gave the stats. But I think top to bottom, the Wolves have more. The Wolves have more, and even if they don't have the best player, okay, they got the second or third best player. Take your pick. In Anthony Edwards, and I'll take what Cat is doing right now, and I like the defense. They're superior defensively to Dallas. I think the coaching matchup is about even, maybe a slight edge to Jason Kidd, but yeah, I like Minnesota home court. Minnesota in 7. In 7.
You know what? I'm gonna stop around with it. I'm gonna do it expeditiously. All right.
Okay.
Get off this here fence. I'm gonna get off this. Here.
Okay.
First of all, I ain't picking against Luka. Like as much as I love Ant-Man, as much as I love the Timberwolves, I give props to Rudy Gobert and Cat. Why would I pick against Luka, especially in conversation with you? Why would I pick against Luka Dončić? So
this
Mavericks
is a mistake.
Give me the Mavericks. Okay, wait, I'm not done. I know what you're
about to do. I know you're long enough. Go ahead. I'm going to step back so it's clean.
Mavericks,
so we get the clean cut.
Pacers. Mavericks, Pacers, NBA Finals. That's the kind of year it's been. Cat Williams set it off. This year has been bananas. Okay, Mavericks, Pacers, NBA Finals, a series befitting of the year of our Lord 2024. That's what we get. I'm going with the Pacers, man. I still don't trust the Celtics.
Let me say that again. Not available
go with the Pacers,
on Netflix or Tubi.
Or Tubi. I'm not picking against Luka, and I'm going with the Pacers. I'm getting on that bandwagon. There you go. Pacers, Mavericks. Sexy. Doesn't that sound sexy? Indiana, Dallas. There you go.
Carlisle
versus Kidd.
Park Avenue hates it. NBA, they're like, no. We don't want that. We don't want Dallas and Indianapolis. Yeah, that's gonna be challenging for them. But that would be a great series. It's not gonna happen, but it would be a great series.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say we got a new champion this year. We're going to have a new champ. How about that? I can guarantee you that much. We're going to have a new champ. All right, Chip. Let's take another break. I want to talk to you about one other thing on the other side.
One other thing. I wonder what that is.
Or maybe two. Or make that two.
I'll make that two.
Make that two thing.
Let me see if I can guess.
Would you want to put out there that, hey, only draft me if you really think I'm good enough and not for all these other reasons, obviously because of your dad, or you're just like, hey, no, whatever gets me there, I'll get there?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like this is a serious business, and I don't feel like there would be like a thought of I'm just drafting this kid just because of I'm gonna get his dad. Like I don't think a GM would really allow that. So yeah, I've never really thought about like, I think I've put in the work and I'd get drafted because of the person, not only the player but the person that I am.
Respectfully, he can't be that naive, or maybe. I appreciate the sentiment. Like he should have that attitude. He should, just like he's taking the attitude of like, hey, I don't need to play with my dad. I want to make a name for myself. He should take the attitude of, hey, whatever I get, I'm gonna get because of the player and person that I am. But we all know that ain't the case. Nor should it be. So what I want to talk to you about, like, it's been so long since I talked to you, man, like, it feels like so much has happened, including Bronny James being speculated as a potential first-round draft pick. He has skyrocketed as the conversation around the business decision. Because let's face it, and again, I do not have a problem with this. I don't begrudge Bronny for this. But there's very much a business consideration at play for any team that drafts Bronny James. Honestly, it's primarily a business decision for drafting Bronny James and drafting him early. Because whether LeBron James plays with your team or not in the short term, this is like, who was the Ohio State kid that the Dolphins drafted? And the coach said, you get it, Ted Ginn. You're not only getting Ted Ginn, you're getting Ted Ginn's family. Remember that? That infamous press conference? You're drafting LeBron James when you draft Bronny James. Let's make no mistake about it. Like, does he have some potential on the NBA level? Sure. Does he have genetics on his side? Absolutely. Is he a good kid by all accounts? A hardworking kid? Did he have a nice combine? Did he shoot uncontested shots well? Sure, okay? Could he be a good player? Maybe. But you are drafting Bronny James because of his surname. You are drafting Bronny James because of his father. On the off chance that his father will migrate to your team to live out the dream of playing with his kid, or just be associated with your team once he leaves the Lakers and potentially walks away from the game himself. But like, if Bronny James were Bronny Smith, I don't even have to say it. It's obvious. It's obvious. And that's okay. I don't have a problem with this. I don't begrudge him because of it. But let's not act like that's not what it is. And let's not act like it would be silly. He said it's a serious business. Emphasis on business. It would be smart business, Bronny, for a team to draft you in the hopes of luring your father. That would be smart business. You being a package deal with your father is good for all parties involved.
Well, I'll tell you one way you probably didn't think in 19 or 20, and neither did I, was, hey, I'm making my name for myself because of my mother or father. You didn't think that. A lot of us don't think that way at 19 or 20, and that's okay too. What I respect, I agree with you what you said. Yes,
he shouldn't think that
clearly.
way. He shouldn't think
clearly.
That way.
But what I like about Bronny James is that he's right about the business in 3 years, in 4 years. Yes, the LeBron James connection. This is where he's wrong. LeBron James connection is going to get him in the door. Already has.
Ain't gonna keep
LeBron
him
James.
Yeah.
LeBron
right.
James.
Ain't gonna keep him there.
But if you really want to be a player who has a long career, nobody's going to care that your last name is James and that you're named after your father.
Right.
Because there are many.
Ask Austin Rivers.
Great, yeah.
For example.
Like there are many great players, but I'm talking about great players. Because I don't think Doc Rivers will call himself a great player.
Jordan's
He's a good
kid.
player. Jordan's kid, Pippen's kid, Ewing's kid.
Yeah.
All of them have been NBA adjacent and just kind of on the margins, either on the margins or out altogether. There's a Patrick Ewing Jr. who's not in the NBA right now.
But I'm gonna tell you what. But if Michael Jordan were still one of the top, anywhere from 5 to 10 players in the NBA, at the time when his son was eligible to be drafted into the NBA, damn straight they drafted Michael Jordan's son in the first round if it means that Michael Jordan may come with him. That's just common sense. That's not even smart business. That's common sense.
You mentioned that it's a little naive on Bronny's part. It's naive, but it's also a testament to his strength or what he thinks he's up for. Imagine a lot of people would just be lost in the shadow of LeBron James. A lot of people would keep quiet, but he's confident that what he's going to do is going to be enough to keep him in the business. He could be dead wrong. He could be wrong.
So
go out there.
So many people think.
But I like that.
So many people think it's silver spoon. So many people think he has a silver spoon and he's had easy street when it's actually quite challenging, as many have pointed out, to grow up in those shadows with that expectation, with that name, being constantly compared to, and it's not just compared to a famous father or a successful father, it's being compared to one of the 2 to 3 best players in NBA history. Like, that's a heavy burden. That's adversity in and of itself.
It doesn't stop on the court either. LeBron James, I haven't checked lately, but I think LeBron James has more Instagram followers than the President of the United States. LeBron James has a big voice. He is out there. And so there are a lot of fans of LeBron. There are a lot of critics of LeBron's. And so it's not like, when you play basketball, you have to hear about LeBron James. No, when you just move about in society, in the culture, you're hearing about LeBron because LeBron is more than a basketball player. And for you to be able to deal with that says a lot. Yeah, there are some advantages. There are some disadvantages that nobody thinks about. I'll say that. Nobody thinks about because the cliche thing to do, the most basic B thing to do is to say, well, if I had LeBron James's resources, if LeBron James was my father, if I had LeBron, okay, those are the positives. You're not thinking about the negatives that come with it.
A lot of people would have cracked. A lot of people would have cracked.
He's lived it, and he seems like he's ready for the assignment. I'm rooting for him.
No, I am too. A lot of people would have cracked. A lot of people would have crumbled. And so just to be clear, I want to see the kid succeed. I would love, even if LeBron has let that ship sail, and even if Bronny doesn't really want it, I would have loved to have seen them play together. That would have been cool for as a fan. They obviously got to work out their own father-son dynamic, but as a fan, that would have been cool. How many fathers would not live vicariously through watching LeBron James play NBA basketball with his son? I don't think I've seen anything like that since the Griffeys were in the outfield in Cincinnati many years ago.
Right.
So, I'm rooting for him to be successful. And I'm especially rooting for him to be successful because the alternative is just awful. If he flop, I don't want to see him flop. You don't want to see any of these kids flop, but I don't want to see him in particular flop and not at least be a serviceable NBA player. I love the people that he patterns his game after. That was pretty telling in terms of his approach and his character and his style and what's important to him. But all I'm saying is, from an NBA team standpoint, if you should absolutely be how we talk about certain positions, all things being equal, you're taking a premium position, or even if you're evaluating a roster, you got a younger guy and an older guy, and they about what and what, you're getting rid of the older guy and playing a younger guy, or if you got in football, you got a pass rusher rated as highly as a guard. You're taking the pass rusher. It's like if Bronny James, I beg your pardon, is anywhere close to his peers, tie goes to the runner. Tie goes to the guy whose father has got an opt-out and could potentially be a free agent and may sign with your team. You know, like if you're the Lakers, I don't know where they pick, but damn straight he might be their first round. We having a meeting. If I'm Jeannie Buss, we having a meeting. Tell me who's better than LeBron James. They have a first round pick this year, right? Tell me who's better than Bronny James. Make the case for this person being better than Bronny James, because we are not drafting Bronny James in a vacuum. You know,
That's right. Listen,
I'm sorry. I'm prioritizing. Even if Bron got 2 years left, 1 year left, this is a bottom line business. You want to be in the LeBron James business.
Especially you ain't got a top 5 pick. You ain't got a top 10 pick. You better come correct.
You ain't passing on Wemby.
Yeah.
You ain't
Tell me why.
It ain't Wemby. Tell me why we shouldn't make this happen, this reunion happen, this family affair happen. You know how much money? You know how much money they stand to make off of having those two on the same team? I mean, it's lucrative. It's a lucrative opportunity to invest. Oh my God. Oh, it's endless. It's an easy decision. That's the easiest card that you've ever turned in. Easy. Run it up to the podium.
Bronny James.
Easy. Speaking of common sense business, this is the last thing I want to hit you with, because I want to know if I was missing something. From time to time, I just miss it. And I need you to break something down for me. So the WNBA is investigating the Las Vegas Tourism Authority's decision to offer each Las Vegas Aces player an annual $100,000 scholarship for the 2020 sponsorship for the 2024 and 2025 seasons. The league is looking into whether the $1.2 million agreement, quote unquote, violates the spirit of the WNBA's $1.46 million salary cap. So, again, the Las Vegas Tourism Authority is giving each of the Las Vegas Aces players $100,000 for the next 2 years. And the WNBA is investigating this. What am I missing? Because I have zero issue with this. The only thing I have an issue with is the WNBA, by way of its investigation, suggesting that there may be an issue that the WNBA has with this. The WNBA should be sending out handwritten, not emails, handwritten thank you notes to the Las Vegas Tourism Authority, because the only thing that they should have a problem with is how bad it makes their salary cap look, that this sponsorship deal is almost as much as a salary cap.
That's the
problem.
I
mean, we know why that is, but that's the issue. But it's like, violates the spirit? No. It's supplemental income. Like, you let these ladies eat. You cannot, I mean, not to mention, not only is it just a side hustle, but what I'm wondering if I'm missing here, and maybe it's specific language to the WNBA's salary cap, which I'm not privy to all the terms and conditions, okay? I just accept. I don't read all the terms and conditions. But how would a sponsorship deal be any more problematic than a player doing promotional work, commercials, advertisements? Yes, I say advertisements, not advertisements. Advertisements, television work on the side. How is any of the income derived from those types of outside opportunities any different than this? Like, it's not like the ownership group is underwriting this, right? It's not like this is.
It could be. I understand. It could be though.
I know what I'm missing.
There could be.
Please.
But because of your association with a certain business, individual or business, you could get an advantage because they're not just doing it. In your scenario, we're like, hey, what's to stop a player from going out and making extra money? Nothing. But when the whole team benefits from a business sponsorship.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's rare. That's not going to happen most of the time. That will happen for your star player in Vegas, in New York, in Chicago.
But was it funneled?
That's not going to happen.
Was it brokered or funneled through the team? Was this a team?
I don't have a problem with it. I don't care how it went down.
So hence the investigation.
I don't care if the team made it happen or if somebody came to the team and said, this is what we want to do because we just love what the Aces have done for Las Vegas. Look, the WNBA has a false sense of what it is and what it should be. Everybody should be into this. We're all in it together. We have this collective spirit. We're doing it. No, this is a business, and your business is flawed in a lot of ways. We just got chartered flights for everybody. And there's speculation that that only happened because of Caitlin Clark. But there were teams, Brooklyn did that 3 years ago and got fined for having chartered flights for their players. That's ridiculous. If I want to take care of my team and you don't want to take care of yours, that's your problem. I'm trying to do the best for my team. And so
more teams should be doing this.
Yes,
more cities should be doing
it. And it is a joke that there are players on the Aces who are getting more from this $100,000 sponsorship, $100,000 per woman.
Then they get paid. Then their salary.
How dare you be a lottery pick getting 70 grand? If you're a lottery, that's what.
And how dare you be the WNBA having a problem with this?
Caitlin Clark's first year salary is like $77,000. Get out of here! What are you talking about? She made more than that at Iowa. And you're getting upset. Does somebody wants to come in?
I made more than that coming out of college, writing about the Caitlin Clarks of the world.
I did.
Are you kidding me?
I didn't.
Are you kidding me?
I didn't make that much. I didn't make that much coming out of college.
And listen, but you talk about collective. They need to be walking around taking up a collection, Michael. Like anybody who can provide supplemental income to these ladies should be applauded and thanked, not investigated.
I think we should have this conversation louder and more often, because quiet as it's kept, the best player in the league and the best player on the Aces, A'ja Wilson, is only making $200,000 from the WNBA. $200,000. So this is half of her salary. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. So this is what we got to change.
Don't knock the hustle.
We got to change that. That's what we got to investigate. Not, hey, somebody coming in and saying, I want to take care of these players. Good for them. Bring on more. Hey, somebody match them. Somebody else in the Vegas business community, come in and add more. Somebody, if you want to be a super team, New York, you're in New York. You're in the media capital of the world.
Donations.
New York City.
Donations.
Somebody in New York should say, "Oh, we're not going to let the Aces do this. We're going to do this." You got plenty of people to choose from in New York City, don't you? Chicago, same thing. Los Angeles, same thing. Let's make it happen.
Donations. I thought it was a try. Hey, we want the kind that folds, not the kind that jingles. All right,
That's what
man.
I'm talking about.
We appreciate it. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, common sense, business sense. Just good business, good for business.
Just good
for
business. We just talking business.
Somebody, keep them happy.
Hey,
keep them happy.
And speaking of business,
speaking
of business, I can't believe you picked the Pacers and the Mavericks. You picked the Pacers and the Mavericks.
But there's no downside. There's no downside. If I'm wrong, let's say I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then okay. I'm the same idiot I always am. But if I'm right, it makes for a good clip. Makes for a good in case you missed it. Then I could be like, my third eye seen it coming before it happened. You know, like, so that's the game. That's the game. What do I have to lose? Credibility?
What is that? Anyway, what good is that? Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.